Welcome to the StockMentor.com studios here in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your stock mentor, Brian Johnson, and I'm making professional trading simple. Welcome to another day, another riveting day of trading here in the markets. Volatile moves up and down all day long. No, we didn't really get any of that actually today. I'm looking at my charts here. It looks like the SPY opened up about 107.08. Last tick I see here is at 107.07. Went down a little bit, went up a little bit, and finished break even, which is very indicative of the day. It's interesting that it was a very choppy sideways day. A lot of you that follow me or have been following me for a while know that on these sideways, choppy, sloppy days, I'm usually just, sit on your hands. Maybe there's a couple of equities that are worth trading. I'll show you a couple that might have been worth trading today. But as a general rule, these are the days that you go play with the kids, walk the dog, or get back to work if you're trying to trade at work. I know some of you are. I used to do the same thing. And you know who you are, and you're laughing right now because it's funny. So if you if you were at work today, you actually got work done, or you should have at least got work done. There was nothing to see in the markets today. Very flat. Everything's waiting for FOMC tomorrow. Very common to see the day start up. As soon as the markets open, on the day the Fed speaks, a lot of times it runs up for about the first, maybe hour of the day. Most volatile usually in the first half an hour. I'd be curious to see if that happens tomorrow since we're at this very strong resistance area. Usually it runs up and then it just goes sideways, and I mean dead sideways. So for tomorrow, for those of you that are trying to trade at work, it's going to be another part of the day that you're going to get a lot of work done. Your boss will be happy with you tomorrow. If it runs up, it'll end up going sideways for a good hour to 2 hours before the Fed speaks, and it'll just chop. It'll do absolutely nothing. In most cases, though, I think you'll find that it runs up into a previous resistance area, or if it falls tomorrow, it'll fall right down into a previous support area. It's interesting how the markets do that right before the Fed speaks. So we'll be watching that tomorrow. As of today, though, very choppy sideways action. Something I wanted to talk about, ITRI. I got a lot of emails from my people. This was a trade I talked about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, right around in this area here, right before September started. I said this would be it was in a symmetrical triangle at the time. I said a breakout of that triangle would be a really good long play because it'd be above all these moving averages. We got the breakout here, and it didn't do anything for a couple days. This day, which was like September 1st, I believe, the markets crashed, but this one held strong, and that was my first sign that this could be a real good play to the upside. If the markets turned around, because it was showing a lot of relative strength that day. Sure enough, it did. Some people played it for a day trade, took profits at the end of the day. That's just fine. Other people swing traded it. If they did, they were in it from about the 54 area and stuck with it all the way up into here where it's at today. You should have been out of this trade if you were swing trading it actually yesterday. You would have been stopped out. If you are still in this trade, some of you I know are, yes, you should be out of this trade by now. So instead of sending you all an email about it, this is something you should have been stopped out of already. 65, maybe 64 would be my absolute limit on this one, but you should be taking profits. This has had a very, very nice run. If you're not out of it yet, watch and see what it does tomorrow. But if it shows any weakness tomorrow, just take your profits. This is a fantastic run on this particular call. Sometimes we usually I'm just trying to hit singles. Every once in a while you hit a double. This one was my home run. Every once in a while we get a good home run. Sometimes it's once a week, sometimes it's once every other week or whatever. But we've had a good run in this one. It's time to take your profits. DV was kind of the same thing yesterday. That was an amazing move up in DV. You should have taken your profits. So yes, take your profits in ITRI if you're still in it. I also noticed that I had a big spike in interest on the website last week. Couldn't really figure it out until I spoke with a gentleman named Patrick yesterday. Patrick, thank you for the call. It's wonderful talking to you about the mentorship. And he mentioned he saw me on one of the blogs, on a different blog, and that's where he got the link from. So whoever posted my link on some of the other blogs around the web, thank you. Really appreciate that. There are a lot of people that come to the site They get a lot of good free information from this, and in return, they're kind enough to go out and stick a post up every now and then, or stick my link out there someplace, or put me on their website as a link to place. I appreciate that. I really do. A lot of what I do is free. It's a lot of people do not pay for the services that I offer, and that is just fine. Really, I don't mind. There is value in the services I do offer, but for those that don't participate, they do in other ways by posting my link out there. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I talked about fear yesterday. I think today will be a good day to talk about that. There really wasn't a lot to discuss today in the markets based on the action we saw. Let's take a quick look at the Dow here, and you can see where we came right back up into a resistance area. Now this is broken on the SPX, but it's interesting how the Dow has been behind everything just ever so slightly. The actual leader of the day was the S&P 500, which was interesting because banks had they had a pretty decent run today, not too bad. There was one in particular. I had a gentleman that was trying to scalp AIG long today, and I don't know. I don't know if he got a lot of opportunity to do that, but late in the day, you can see what AIG did, and once it was falling back into this gap fill, probably not the best time to be trying to play it long. But as it was falling down into this gap fill, something hit here and it fell off a cliff. And the last 60 minutes were just basically straight down on AIG, right back into a support area back here. As you can see, we really basically double topped. This was, probably not the best place to be to be going long in this area here. You wanted to break up and above all of this congestion to really think about taking AIG long today. But this would have been a very good short, actually, for those of you that might have been looking to play it. Although I am not interested in really playing the banks right now. The Fed is just too high on banks, and it's very tough to play against the Fed. They have a little bit more money than I do, and they're printing trillions of dollars. So I will not stand in their way when it comes to something they want to back, and that's usually the banks. However, AIG did have a nice fall today, late in the day. If you caught it, congratulations. That was a great play, and you could see it on the intraday charts that things were not all that bullish with the with AIG, but you never know what's going to happen in the banks. It could have turned around late in the day. This one did not. So let's go back and take a quick look here and see that the Dow was up about 0.5%, Nasdaq up about 0.4%, and the S&P led the way. But the Dow has only made it back to this previous resistance area. If we look at this, looks like a little inverse head and shoulders starting to form on this pattern here. I don't pay a lot of credence to it because it's not at the bottom of the move. I really like to see inverse head and shoulders at the bottom of a move and not so much at the top. So this could be maybe a fake out. Maybe it's just a setup for something more sinister to come. It's really anybody's guess. So we'll wait and see how this all plays out. This is not showing up on the SPX, but it is interesting to kind of watch it. I'll keep an eye on it and see if we get a pullback to make a right shoulder and then a move back up again. But I don't put a lot of credence in it. It's at the top of a move. However, still interesting to look at. The NDX staying below this line that we have now drawn in here. You can see that everything was flat today. It gapped up to start the day, up a little bit, down a little bit, pretty much ended up flat on the day. Here, this upper trend line, once again, holding on the NDX. The last time this happened, though, it did bust up and through. I remember where that was at, but there was a point back here in time where it was actually following it, and instead of breaking down, it broke up through it. I think, everybody's waiting for the Fed to